But luckily for them, he is not a doctor.
Unluckily for them, he is a government investigator.
Yeah,
named
he's there
Alfredo Ortiz.
Oh, Alfredo Ortiz. What a name, man. What a name.
Combining my favorite Italian sauce with my favorite gum. No, wait, that's Orbitz. But close.
Alfredo Ortiz.
Yes. Hello, and welcome to Judgmental Horror Junkies. This is Reno Dino Valentino, head doctor at the Asylum for the Insane. And with me is I almost said all ship.
All shways.
All
sound like you're going to say
always and all shways is Goreship, the ship that smoothly sails the river Styx. He is all shways going around in rivers.
Shway, man. Shway.
Poo shway, man. How are you?
I am great. It's back to being in the saddle on this hot summer day.
Back to being sad. We are fucking this all up.
We're not drunk, I promise.
Not yet. We drink after the podcast because we're professionals.
No, it is good to be back doing this. You know, our nice little monthly trek of our horror movie book club.
Yeah, and we our leftist intersectional gaze has we fell upon a hidden gem in Netflix by hook or by crook. If you listened last week, you know that our movie this month was Errementari, The Blacksmith and the Devil. And it was a Netflix movie. Well, I mean, obviously they didn't make it, but they got permission to release it. And me and Goreship knew nothing about it except that we had seen it recommended to us based on other things we had watched.
The trailer, watch the trailer, and then be like, all right, it's on my list. I'll watch it eventually.
Added it to the watch list and just kept not watching it. And I was like, you know what? If I make it a homework assignment, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I did. And I for one am glad, very glad. I enjoyed this very much.
That's how some of these movies have gone that we've done. Like, they were on a list that I had, but I didn't get around to until it was like, all right, we'll do it for the podcast.
Yeah.
So this has really helped kick my butt into gear to make sure that we watch.
I tell you this,
some long-waited watch list movies.
I listened to a video game podcast, and they always talk about like, well, I was going to play that game, but I decided I'd save it for the podcast. And at the time, I was just like, man, just play the games you want to play, bro. And now that I'm doing a horror podcast, I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it really moves it to the front of the queue and gets it handled, which I needed.
But yeah, Errementari, The Devil and the Blacksmith, really good, solid film.
Yeah,
really enjoyed that.
Came to us from Spain, won a ton of film awards when it came out, and I'll give you a quick. The director was Paul Aledo. Who also was one of the writers. I wrote down the character names, and I did not write down the cast because I am a slacker
I wrote down the three main that you see throughout the movie.
Yeah, give those to me because I wrote them down in my plan. Usually I write down the actors and then who they play first before I even start the film. But this time it was a really long list,
long list.
And I was like, well, why don't I watch the movie, see who's important, and then no small roles, only small actors or whatever. But I was gonna watch the movie first and then go back and like, well, I'll write down the ones that were important, and I did half of that.
I got the three main that we had the bio about this.
Well, as the person who handles our synopsis, you're also going to handle our cast this month.
So our three main people of this film, there's a fourth one that I guess could be added, but the first one would be Candido Uranaga, who plays Paxi, our blacksmith. Then you have Uma Bracaglia, who's Ushwe, sorry.
Our little girl.
And then you have Eniko Sagradoy, who plays Sartael, the demon.
Yeah.
Or devil.
Man.
Depends on how you translate that.
Sartael.
But those are your
good.
three. Yeah. There's a fourth actor that we get to know as Alfredo. Yeah. But I did not write his name down. He's technically a fourth important character. But everyone else is kind of like...
I would even argue maybe Santiago, the barkeep.
They're not prominent main characters. They're good side background transition characters.
Yeah, he gets a lot of face time, and his brother ends up being like a traitorous dick. And
but they help move the plot along to get back to what is always important: what's happening at the Blacksmith.
Yeah, but I will say, even though I poorly did not get the cast, stellar performances all. I loved. I thought all the acting in this was top notch. I thought all the cinematography was top notch. All the I almost said the painting, all the makeup and special effects were
the architecture, the actual paintings in the churches, like everything was super well done. Yeah, and I'm sure that was a real church somewhere in Spain.
Oh, it had to be, right? Like,
like the detail.
If you've ever traveled through Europe and like the churches from the 1800s, they really wanted to put the fear of God in you. Like it wasn't all Jesus on the cross with absolutely no blood and Virgin Mary looking just good enough to eat.
I mean, and that's Catholicism.
It's all people getting stabbed in hell and like demons. And hey, these are the horrible things that have happened in the Bible and are going to happen to you if you don't go ahead and spend every second of your life repenting.
Them good old Catholics, man. They make you feel bad for being religious.
Yeah.
Well, worse than you should already feel, but
yeah.
From our cast to our overall plot synopsis, there was a couple of different ones I wanted to go with.
Oh?
Because IMDb had a good one, but it was pretty long.
Yeah.
Google had a basic one that was driven from Netflix, which is pretty short and sweet.
The Netflix one I thought was pretty good. Yeah. It was just like 2 sentences.
Which is just a quiet village is thrown into turmoil upon disturbing a reclusive and feared blacksmith, rumored to be in league with the devil.
Yeah.
That was,
the one I saw that I really liked, and I'm paraphrasing because... it's not my job to write down. But I saw it and I really liked it. It was a man imprisons a man imprisons a demon until a young girl comes along. Like, that's it. Yeah. I was just like, a blacksmith imprisons a demon until a young girl comes along, and I'm like, that is all you need. That one sentence, I'm hooked. I am here.
Yeah, I believe that was just like the basic like Netflix thing.
Yeah. I was like, that's great. That's all I needed.
There's a few good detailed ones.
That's all I needed.
I thought that was pretty solid. Just like, quiet village, this blacksmith who everybody fears, he's got a devil trapped in a cage, and the shit goes sideways. Pretty solid to follow.
Yes. And as we already briefly mentioned, this is... We have become cultured this month because this is subtitles. This is it is best to listen to it in its native tongue with the subtitles.
Don't do the English dub with the American subtitles over it, because even if
they won't match up and it'll make your brain hurt.
Yeah, it really does not follow, and that happens to be a trope with a lot of these translations that they do for English dub versus subtitles. Like, I mean, hell, if you want to do it with an anime, put on the English dub and anime, and then put on the subtitles. And the shit that they're saying on the subtitles, which would be from the actual Japanese translation, versus what they're saying in the English dub, is completely off kilter. It's not. Like, half the time, the English dub doesn't say anywhere near what they're trying to say in the actual subtitles. You're like, wait a minute, they said that so poetically when I read it, but when I'm watching, they're like, yes, he was fine.
Speaking of, there are a few very poetic lines that I've yanked out, and when we get to them, I figured you would. I will say, oh man, a couple shits.
A lot of the dialogue in this, like the way that they wrote, their little side diatribes were pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it as Goreship mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned this before or after we started recording, but it's based on Basque folklore. If you don't know, Basque, and I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it.
Basque.
Basque. I did not know what that was. I actually had to look it up, and it's kind of a...
I'm sure you've heard about the Basque Party trying to come back to power, right?
I thought it was Bath Party.
I thought it was Basque.
yeah, like the people bathing. But no, it's basically talking about a place that it's a ethnicity around Central Europe, for lack of a better, people that shared back in ye olden days shared a common culture. And
think of Basque like you would Prussia.
Yeah. It's kind of an old timey that part of the world thing in southwestern Europe, southwestern and Central Europe. And this is one of their folklores. And of course, because someone's making a deal with the devil, I'm going to briefly bring up Faust, because it's very Faustian. I don't know if he's the first person to ever write a story about making a deal with the devil, but
it's the most common.
It's the one people always come back to.
I mean, to be fair, that's what Hellraiser has its mythos based from, is Faustian deals.
Yeah,
and that's literally what the whole premise was when Clive Barker created it, was a Faustian premise.
Yeah, and the character in this who at the beginning is trying to sell some fake holy relic chains and is later telling everybody, just leave this guy alone, don't go here, is named Faustino. And I'm sure that's not an accident.
I didn't even catch that. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. So, normally we say, how'd you first hear about this? But we've covered that. We hadn't. We had no first impressions except that we'd watched, we'd seen a couple of still shots on Netflix. So
I do think it's really cool. Like we were just mentioning, that this is based off an actual folklore tale from the region.
Mm-hmm.
I think because we're not from there, so we don't know if like they actually got all the details right, like someone who lives in that general population would know. But for an outsider who gets to hear another culture's like folklore tale turned into a movie, I thought it was superb. I thought it was really good.
Well, you're going to miss things because we aren't from that part of the world, and there are certain subtleties that we will miss. It would kind of be like taking someone from, North Korea and showing them a movie we made about the Virginia Mothman. Like, there would be even if we subtitled it, to Vietnamese, there would be a lot they missed because they don't know anything about life in, the Virginia Highlands. So
fair enough.
We are going to fall into that category as well. And if you are someone who is from that area or just knows the folklore better than we do, feel free to sound off in the comments and give us context. Hit us with some context.
The comparisons, what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
But
don't yell at us.
So just
fragile class ego.
Jumping off from the opening credits.
Yes.
I really like this opening credits.
That neon red opening, huh?
Bro, I was very, very much appreciative of it because it reminded me very much of like... So the opening sequence is this animated classic etching artwork depicting hell and demons torturing people.
And the line work is all bright red neon. It almost looks Vegas. It's so like... But it's actually, it's
like
supposed
the flames.
to be fire or flames, yeah.
And the opening dialogue that goes with the depiction of hell is actually really good too. It feels like the opening of a dark, like not satanic, but like dark anime.
Yeah.
When they're depicting like, oh, this is what happened, during this time, and all the devils are loose, and it was just really cool. I have an appreciation for that style of artwork just because I don't know if it's being in a metal band or whatever, but like that style of artwork is so cool.
Yeah.
Old school like etching with like demons like on their abdomens and on their asses and like extra arms and stuff like they're on their sides and whatnot, but it was really cool.
It depicts and it basically talks about how devils make deals with mortals for their souls and offer them things they want in return, and 99 times out of 100 the demon gets what they want. But this is a story of one who didn't, because he met up with a badass blacksmith that was such a awesome badass that even the devil himself would be scared of him.
Yeah, because the opening line is like, "Do you believe in hell?"
Yeah.
I mean, you already know someone's going to go to some dark places if the first question you're asked by the narrator is, "Do you believe in hell?"
I'm willing to for this movie because, man, otherwise I don't know what's happening. We get our location. We are in 1835 in the First Carlist War, which was just one of the many wars in Spain where they were trying to figure out who should be in charge. Two royal families were both trying to claim the crown, and it started in 1833. So 1835, we're deep into it, and Raba Basque country, which is just actually is the name of a Spanish province at that time. So yeah, we're in Spain in the 1800s, in the middle of a war. That's all you really need to know.
And we get this Basque army who have stopped a secret enemy transport that's being transported by civilians. It looks like just civilians. They're not soldiers, but these civilians
did not stop them from getting the fuck shot out of them, though.
Yeah, so...
We immediately established that the soldiers, not our friends in this. Not the good guys.
These poor people who are just civilians doing a transport for...
Yeah. They might not even know what they were transporting.
Yeah, for the enemy. I mean, they obviously knew because they hid it. Like, it was hidden in a secret compartment under the saddle where they sat.
But, like... someone knew. Someone put it there.
Yeah.
But, they fucking just assumed they all knew and just blew them all away.
Fair point. Yeah, they got death by firing squad after begging and pleading and having a priest read them last rites.
Yeah, they find... Well, some of them. And then the general says, we don't have all day. Yeah. And stops him. He doesn't even give last rites to the third person, which, coincidentally, is our quote-unquote hero. So it's very cute. And I wonder what would have happened if the priest had tried to give last rites to the blacksmith. But he doesn't get there because this general waves him off. He's like, yeah, I want to shoot these guys and get on with my day. I got shit to do.
So they shoot the firing squad off, all the rounds, and you get all the gunpowder smoke filling the area, and they, see most of the bodies are fucking dead. Yep. Everybody's dead. And then they notice through the fog that one of the men
is still standing.
Still somehow alive. He's just standing there.
Oh.
Simultaneously, the Emperor, not the Emperor, but the General who has discovered this secret little trinket inside the coach, has trying to write a letter to send off to the Emperor. Yeah,
it's a just to quickly say, it's a treasure chest that they open and they see what's inside, but we as the audience do not yet know. And then, yes, he writes a note to immediately get to the Emperor. So whatever it is, it's hot shit.
Yeah. He tries to get, he sends a soldier off on horse, and right as that happens, the blacksmith, who happens to still be alive, wakes up and starts slaughtering all the soldiers that just killed his friends.
Man, yeah, it's some Matrix-style battle shit. Like, he is flipping dudes around, like firing a gun while using a body for protection. And the general, who is far enough away through the fog and the smoke, can only see, like, shadows. And at one point, he sees a shadow of what appears to be a devil. With a pitchfork.
Yeah.
Like, your most traditional devil you can imagine. Like, the ones that's on a cartoon versions on hot sauce. Like, the most normal. But through the shadow, it's super creepy. Like,
it's confirmed, though, when you see the priest. The priest is, like, all of a sudden just stops in his tracks, and he's like, Demonio, Demonio.
Yeah.
And he
knows what's up.
Yeah.
He knows what's up.
I will say this. So, everybody gets slaughtered. Yep. And the general, he's a lousy fucking shot.
Yeah.
He is a lousy shot.
Actually, I don't think he is. I think he hit every time. Because the deal the Black spoilers had, again, you should have already seen the movie, the deal he made with the devil was that he would get home to his wife. Which meant, until he did, fucker was immortal. I think that's why he survived the firing squad. I think that's why he survived the general. I don't think he was killable at that point. That's my guess, anyway. Although, I hate the general, and I'm kind of also okay with him being a bad shot. Like, either way works for me.
Well, let's say he did get shot, and, and the demon protected him from actually fucking dying. Yeah. I choose to believe that because the way those guns were back then, he was just more of a terrible shot than anything. And maybe the devil just like, you're gonna...
Just pop it.
Yeah. Move
one of those forward. Easy miracles where you just knock the bullet a little bit to the left.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. Our Rambo Blacksmith, he is not amiss when he javelins that fucking bayonet gun into the dude's back.
Yeah, the general, the brave man that he is, takes off running because, I mean, let's be honest, most of us would if we emptied a clip into a dude and he just kept coming. Dude grabs a bayonet and he javelins it right into the dude. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, and then, he pulls it out, flips him over, and the general's like, oh no, please, please.
Grabs a hammer, which is...
smash the face and give him a nice sledgehammer facelift.
Another spoiler, weapon of choice of this blacksmith. He loves hammering folks.
I mean, if it's not a hammer, it's his fist.
But none of that matters or will ever come into play again because it is now 8 years later. Just kidding. But yes, we are now 8 years later, and we have a barkeeper named Santiago. People call him Santi for short. And a fella named Faustino, again, this is our Faust mention, comes in with a pile of chains and just lays them on and starts... During this time, probably from about the 1400s to, well, I would say modern time, people will take garbage and try and pass it off as holy relics.
Yeah.
Like, this was one of the nails that was in Jesus' hand. And Jesus would have had to been an AI-generated image for the number of hands he would have had to have, for the number of nails, if they were all legitimate Jesus nails.
There were 4 altogether. So some people found 4 altogether, like...
Yeah. It's got to be Jesus. Because no one would ever use nails for anything else.
Yeah.
And people just needed to make a buck. And here's the thing. Hey, grifter's gonna grift and get them paper stacks, Faustino.
So Faustino is claiming that he has the chains that were worn by a saint who watched the death of the last dragon.
He watched Saint Michael slaying the last dragon.
Yeah. But it was a saint who wore these shackles when he was in prison and saw Saint Michael slay the last dragon, aka demon,
aka mushrooms. I assume they were all just in the monastery basement taking mushrooms, and they saw what they saw.
The kicker is he'll sell it to him for $30, basically.
Yeah. And he's like, Hey, I know a sucker who will buy it. The priest.
Yeah, he's like, if you're going to sell holy relics, go sling that to the priest.
Yeah, and later we see the priest. Oh, he says also, and this is important for later, that if you bite into these chains,
your headache will go away.
It will cure headaches. It will cure pain. Because later we see the priest nibbling on these exact chains, so we know Faustino got him.
Yeah.
Got him.
Ironically enough, we see a gentleman who, prior to being shown at the inn, we saw this gentleman in a top hat and glasses walking through the streets being eyed by the town folk.
Everybody's eyeballing him, and my first guess was Doc. He's a doctor. Somebody's very ill. He's coming to try and cure them, but probably pronounce them dead. He just gave off like that doctor aura of the time. And it also seemed like, even as late as, the 1840s, a lot of people side-eyed doctors and did not trust them. Thought they were probably witches and warlocks.
But luckily for them, he is not a doctor.
Unluckily for them, he is a government investigator.
Yeah,
named Alfredo Ortiz.
Oh, Alfredo Ortiz. What a name, man. What a name.
Combining my favorite Italian sauce with my favorite gum. No, wait, that's Orbitz. But close.
Alfredo Ortiz.
Yes.
He comes in, and when he comes in, they all stop and act very weary of him, too, just like the people in the street. It must be a natural thing. Like,
it's an outsider or well-dressed. It's one of those two things.
I'd say both.
Yeah, or both, yeah.
They're look at fancy pants coming in our little rinky-dink.
This guy smells like he bathed recently.
But yeah, he's there on behalf of the, quote, provincial government investigating a matter regarding a blacksmith named
Francisco Paxi. If I'm pronouncing that all right.
Yeah, Francisco.
Yeah, good old Francisco. What a name. And
I got a little chuckle out of that one when I heard that. I was like,
Yes, the Mad Blacksmith, everyone in town calls him. Because at first he's like, I'm looking for a local blacksmith. And they're like, well, we have a smithy, but that thing's boarded up. Nobody uses it. And we have no metal here because literally every... And I like this because Santiago is smart. He starts lying to this government official, never tell the truth to the cops. This guy's basically a cop. He starts lying to him right off the bat. He says every bit of metal in this town was melted down for the bullets and swords. Yeah, for the war. Even the church bell, which, spoilers ahead, he lied about that. Yeah. But yeah, he straight up tells him everything's been melted down. Because he's afraid that he's going to be like, oh, you guys have been taxed again. Yeah. And we're taking whatever's left. But Alfredo's kind of trying to assuage his fears. He's like, look, I'm here on a private matter. I'm just investigating this blacksmith guy. Can I get a room? And they give him a room, and they tell him where the blacksmith lives. But Santiago wisely says, warns him the devil lives there. Just like, oh yeah, by the way, the place you're going, the devil lives there. So have a good time.
I also love that when they're like, dude, for real, he's a madman. He's so vicious and brutal that you can hear the fucking screams in the middle of the night from his prisoners. Yeah. But at the same time,
we think it's his wife who killed herself, her spirit.
It's the ghost
screaming to be free.
So you get a little tidbit of the background.
Yeah, we'll get a bit more backstory with him later.
And so far, all you know is that the blacksmith is a deranged lunatic who they call the Hammer, which is very, very apropos.
I think he earned that one in the war.
He came home and his wife killed himself because he was so brutish and violent that his wife just couldn't handle it, so she offed herself. Yeah, and now he went even more insane with rage.
Yeah, Paxi came home and his wife was unpleased with him. So yeah, our boy Francisco Patsy is making deals with the devil, and Alfredo Ortiz is gonna go check his shack out. Go check out his smithatorium? What do you call blacksmithy?
Smith Hut?
Smith Hut.
I don't know. They call him a smithy a lot, so I thought it was like his
ye old medieval smithy. But he does not get there because one of the coolest gates I have ever seen in all of creation. Tons of like fucking spikes and crosses up everywhere.
Chain wrapping around the handle just to keep it locked in.
And a little like rectangle, one of those like pull things that you can look. And our boy Alfredo peeks in through the and sees just more crosses. Just crosses as far as the eye can see.
The trek to get there, though, I mean, bro, that's a pretty good hike that he got. Like when they were showing,
it was some depressing Spanish countryside.
Yeah, just like foggy forestry on a muddy path road. You're having to walk all the way from the actual town to the outskirts, like the edges of the woods, to get to his blacksmith hut.
Yeah, he's a little.
That's some pretty crazy. You know what? And calling it a hut is a disservice, because when you actually look inside of it, it's fucking massive.
It's almost like a TARDIS. It looks bigger on the inside than it does on the outside.
It looked like it was an old church that got converted into like a place to live. Is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Like whenever they showed the interior. But yeah, now he gets the big old spiked iron gate, there's a sign. It
says Emindic?
Which translates to "get out of here."
Yeah. Yeah, that was translated very well by Netflix translator.
Get out of here!
Get out of here!
And when Alfredo gives up, we get a nice little cut to the interior where our blacksmith is pounding away on a piece of metal.
Yep.
And it's all blackened except for the glow of the smelting.
Yeah, this dude does not believe in interior lighting. Yeah.
The forge is the only lighting he's got. And he's hammering away till his fucking hammer breaks. And he's like, fuck that hammer, I use fist. And just starts pounding with his bare fist.
Just starts punching it.
And to keep bending the metal.
If other people were around, I would say he was just doing that to impress people. But he is just very impatient about getting these things done.
So angry.
So, our boy Alfredo gives up real quick.
And now we get mass. We get a nice little cutaway.
I finally get a little bit of my holy. Man, this is a great looking church.
The architecture is what I was talking about earlier, with like the physical carvings into the pews that look like people being dragged down to hell, with the little demons carved into the wood.
This is like the centerpiece behind the preacher. So the whole time he's talking, you can just see behind him like people being dragged to hell. And what's the lesson about? How much liberals suck.
Yeah, I was going to say, the priest, the entire time the priest is talking, that we're getting introduction, while they're all at church, the priest is just throwing shade at the new government for sending Alfredo.
Yeah.
And the fact that, our new little government official didn't decide to come to church for us. I guess it's because they're too busy.
These new liberal ideas of godlessness and looking to the government for help. It's basically what you see on your grandpa's Facebook page most days.
I actually got the quote down. He says, and I quote, "The devil is already walking through our lands, though. And it comes in the form of filthy liberal ideas." And he takes a pause, looking around at the room, and just keeps going on about how it's basically the government's fault for allowing immigrants who don't pay the same, taxation portions as these towns that make them broke.
If he had stopped in the middle of it and put on a red hat that said "Make America Great Again," would not have been surprised.
Yeah.
And first of all, let me say this. Our boy Alfredo, he's a teetotaler. He doesn't drink. Give him a fucking break, dude. The people that are sitting there in church were all drunk at the inn when he showed up. He did not drink. To the point that fucking Santiago told his son to cover the still with a blanket so he didn't even have to look at it. So, don't get hurt falling off your high horse, Mr. Priest.
I thought he had him cover it because it wasn't legal. I thought it was a government official
when the
thing.
dude came in, he offered him all the illegal alcohol, so he knew about it.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe he was just like, out of sight, out of mind. I told him we're making illegal stuff here, but if I cover it up, maybe he won't mention it again.
And of course, like most good, children do at Sunday Mass, we see that Benito has been a pickpocketer. He picked that secret letter off of Alfredo's person.
Yeah.
Whenever he was carrying his bags for him.
Yeah.
And the funny part is,
he shows it to his dad.
His dad catches him reading it, and so
right.
I was a little confused because what actually is in the letter versus what the reaction was is completely different than what the actors portray. This might just be like the fault of the acting, but when Benito is reading it, he looks like he's startled or scared by what he's reading.
Yeah.
And then his dad slaps him upside the head and takes the letter from him. He's like, "What do you got right there?" Reads it, and his dad's just like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" And then looks at the mom who was reading over her shoulder, and she's kind of like, what is going... Like, they both kind of look a little perplexed by it.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it's not anything to do with what you think it is, other than, like, oh, hey, there might be some secret fucking gold in the town.
Yeah. We're basically hunting for pirate gold, but
so
in this case...
So it's a little confusing about the actual reactions.
But yeah, I think it was just generally, like, a little bit of surprise at getting caught reading in church, a little bit of... surprise at what the note says and what it could mean for the town, because I think Santiago's putting the pieces together. Like, That's why this guy's here. And he's going to dig up this money. It's going to create a big hassle for everybody in town. We're not going to see any of... Like, probably a lot
He's a man of the people. He's thinking about how it's directly affecting the townsfolk.
Yeah, exactly. So
in the bar already, he was complaining about, like, you being here. What do you want from us? What,
more taxes?
Raise our taxes even more? We've already paid you everything we have.
Yeah.
The war's only been done for 2 years. Look at us. We're still fucking broke.
Yeah. They'll read the note later, but a quick synopsis of what it says is that during this war in 1835, the Karlist War, a Russian Tsar sent a big chest of gold to one of the two fighting sides to try and influence the outcome. He's like, well, if this king ends up winning, he'll be in bed with the Russian government because we helped put him there. Yeah, he'll be our pal. So, first of all, it is heartwarming to know that America is not the only people that fucks with other people's governments and wars.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yes, exactly. Anybody that's got enough money to fiddle in other countries' bullshit will do so, apparently. But this gold was lost in transit. That's what the note says, and they will get caught reading it later in front of Alfredo, to whom the note belongs, and he will yank it out of their hands.
So this little segue with them reading the letter introduces us to the mother basically asking Benito, where's Ushue?
Yeah.
And he's like, why the hell should I know? She's like, watch your mouth when you talk to me and we're in church.
And I see you all hanging out all the time.
She's like, you follow her around all the time. He's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Basically, like, I know you got a crush on her.
He's got a crush on her, and also I think enjoys bullying her. Yeah. Yeah, like all of us were raised as men. If you see the girl you like, you got to push her in the mud and pull her hair, and then she'll know you like her.
That's the trope we're going with for here.
Yeah, definitely.
But while this is all going on, Mom slaps him loud as shit upside the head.
Yeah,
and it causes this
the prayer.
It causes commotion where the priest is like, all right, I lost my train of thought. You know what? Let's just skip to the fucking part where we drink the wine. That's my favorite part.
Where's the fucking wine? They can't find the fucking wine.
Where's the wine? Where's the wine mask? It's supposed to be there. It's not here. He's just holding it.
Yeah, it's a very cute scene. There are a few funny scenes in this. We cut to a girl whose face is covered in berry juice and maybe wine. I don't think wine, because when she tries to wine, she's fucking
it's berries. It's wild berries.
She's covered in wild berry juice. She looks like a fairy, a fae.
And a scar on her face.
Yeah, and she has a scar on her face as well. But she looks like a fae child, like one of the fairy folk come to life.
Bright blue eyes, fair skin.
Oh yeah,
pixie dress.
And she's having this little tea party with Matilda, her doll, and my favorite character, the doll's husband, Napoleon, who is a rock with a moss hair wig on him. And she's she's trying to do mass like they do in church, but with her dolls. So she's playing the part of the preacher, and she's trying to give the wine to her dolls.
So before I knew that it was a scar, and I saw Ushue get introduced, her character.
Yeah.
First things I thought was like, oh, this child's been beaten. She's got, like, bruising on her face from being beaten. I thought she was a child of abuse.
I thought she was just the messiest berry eater in the world. I thought she just somehow got berry all over her upper head.
It was all yellow and purple and stuff, so I thought it was
she'd eaten a lot of weird berries.
I thought it was a nasty bruise from getting smacked upside the face.
You were closer than I was.
Because while she's sitting there, with the church wine that she stole, having her little tea party with Matilda and the Rock, Napoleon.
God bless her.
Matilda talks back about how she doesn't like the drink, and so she starts basically projecting her trauma onto the doll, being like, you be quiet and behave like a young lady. Your mother would be so ashamed if she was alive to see you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, is that a big old fucking bruise on her face? Is she being abused? Yeah. That's what I thought it was from. And then at the same time, I was like, bro, she's 7 years old, stealing and drinking wine. Jesus.
Yeah. I wish I was that cool at 7. And a couple of bullies show up, and of course, bring up her dead mom, because I don't think you can be a bully in a movie and not bring up someone's dead mom. It just seems impossible.
The bullying starts with Ushue enjoying herself and her little snake friend.
Yeah.
Look, I don't like snakes, but I mean, this was a sad moment.
Was not a poisonous snake.
Yeah, non-poisonous little snake friend that obviously recognized her and let her hold her and was, being all cuddly with her.
She's all happy. She's like, oh, you showed up for the tea party.
And then dickhead Benito throws a rock and kills it.
Yeah.
Right on the money, just breaks its head.
Benito... Fucking Game Busters with rocks. Yeah. He will show the skill again later. And they start yelling at each other because he's saying he saved her life.
I love when he's like, "You're in so much trouble for skipping church." She goes, "Well, I'm not going to go to church because church is stupid for stupid people like you."
That is the exact insult you would expect a child to give another child.
And of course, he's like, "Oh, well, guess what? You not going to church means you're going to hell, just like your mom." And insert the dead mom jokes.
Your mom hung herself going to hell for suicide. So are you, little lady. And I'm like, again, I honest to God, every single movie with bullies and an orphan, they're like, hey, your mom's dead.
Your dead parent, yeah.
Haven't spent enough time with orphans to know, but is that really the thing they always crack on?
They also make a little, like, sing-song, childy voice. It's like, Matilda is burning, Matilda is burning. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Yes, they are monsters, or they're kids. No difference, really.
I was about to say, there's not really a difference there, especially
she
at those ages.
Does not take shit from them and stands up and pushes one of them down, which I loved. And then, of course, they start chasing her.
Well, no, he tackles her back because she shoved him.
Yeah.
And when he's on top of her, she kicks him in the balls.
Why do men always forget they have that weakness?
Yeah, and then she starts taking off.
Yeah, and then she takes off running. They end up chasing her.
When he finally...
They catch her at the gate. The gate to the blacksmith shop with all the spikes and the crosses and
She's
stuff.
got nowhere to go, and he decides that he's going to take her doll and make fun of her dead mother some more, so she fucking socks him one right in the nose. Give him a little bloody one.
Again, Usei would have been hung as a witch because she's got all those stubborn things that we don't like to see in women. You know, independence, thinking for themselves, that kind of shit that we do not allow.
Autonomy.
Oh, God. Yeah, she's got body autonomy.
Damn you, women, and your autonomy.
She also wants body autonomy for her doll. So when one of the boys takes it, she punches him in the face. And because his feelings have been hurt,
he's
embarrassed
and throws it over the fence.
He gets embarrassed because a girl knocked his ass on his ass. Knocked his ass on his ass. So yeah, he rips the head off the doll, tosses it over the fence, and then him and his buddy tear ass out of there because another punch was coming, to be perfectly honest.
They leave her there crying outside the gate, and she's desperately like, well, how am I supposed to get it now? And he's like, yeah, fuck you, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And along their way back,
Benito and his friend,
pinching his nose, trying to hold it from bleeding more, they see the blacksmith trying to pick and grab some roots and stuff, salvaging some stuff from like a wild garden.
Yeah.
And you know what they decided to do? They decided to throw rocks at him because he looked homeless.
One of them...
He straight up said, he deserves it because he looks like a beggar.
Benito's friend accuses him of being scared of the blacksmith. And Benito's like, I'm not scared of him. He looks like a homeless dude. I'm going to hit him with a rock. And sure enough, the rock starts sailing, and one of them hits the blacksmith. And
Benito's friend is the one that did the fucking rock throwing that actually hit.
Yeah,
Benito was coming up very short, and it felt like almost on purpose he wasn't trying to.
Yeah, I think Benito was just talking shit, but his friend was like, oh, we're trying to hit him? I can. And does. And then tears off running. The blacksmith tears off running and actually catches Benito. And fucking...
Little scare tactic.
Oh, God. Well, first he hits him with a rock back. Chef's kiss.
I was fine with that.
Yeah. But the blacksmith pays him back with a headshot. Grabs him by the shirt. Benito's shirt rips and he tears off into the woods. And then the three of them...
Wound up back at the church.
Back at the church. And let me just say, I always love it when a group of adults team up on a child. Yeah. It really makes my heart sing. So basically, all these adults are yelling at Usei for coming back late and fucking missing mass and stealing the wine, etc., etc. And they're yelling at each other too, like, well, she's your responsibility. Well, she's not mine. We find out that she is in the care of the church. Because,
she's an orphan.
Yeah, because no one knows where her father and mother is. Not no one, but she only knows that her mother hung herself. At this point, I am so fucking angry at these adults that I'm like...
The thing that got me is how the priest is, like, out of anything, he's not upset that she skipped church. He's not upset that, she hit Benito. He's not upset that, she herself could have been hurt. Yeah. He's like, you little shit, you took the wine! Yeah. You're going to hell! And so she yells back, I don't care. Hell is a lie!
Yeah, she does not want to believe in hell because that is where everyone's told her mother is gone. Because suicide is a cardinal sin, and ergo, it's hell. And I'm going to bring this up now. I have it later in the notes, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think if you teach children about hell, you should be fucking arrested for child abuse. It's fucking horrible to tell a child about a place where they will burn forever if they don't obey a set of rules that no two adults can fucking agree on. I was raised Christian. I was until I stopped believing, I was in constant fear of that shit. Like, I had sleepless nights about it. And like, the people that loved me most in the world and thought that they were doing me a kindness, because, you know, if you love somebody, you don't want them to burn forever, obviously, were actually giving me psychological damage that I feel to this day. And I swear to God, I think if you are telling your child about hell and describing it in any sort of fucking detail, you are performing child abuse on that child. Like, I honestly believe that. And Christians come at me in the comments, but like, it's bullshit. I agree. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. I agree
that I always thought that the idea of, presenting hell first and foremost was a fear-mongering tactic to make fucking young kids do what you said.
I mean,
like, do as I say or you go here.
Yeah.
That's essentially all it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of it's like that. Like, what is Santa Claus except be good and I'll give you gifts, be bad and you get coal. Like,
yeah, but like,
everything is to have kids stop being kids. Like don't be chaotic. Don't be full of energy. Like, fucking sit down, be quiet, shut up, do your math homework, and you won't go to hell and you'll get good shit at Christmas. Oh man, I'm hot now.
Yeah, it gets real deep under the skin.
I'm okay.
Childhood trauma's coming back to the surface.
Yeah, sorry about all that. Let me bring it back.
Anyways,
Santiago is caught reading the letter that we have already described. Alfredo catches him doing it, and we get the true story of what Alfredo's here for, to break into the blacksmith's smithy and find this chest of gold that's there. And he gets a couple of volunteers from the town to do it. But one member, our boy Faustino, says no. Faustino says stay the fuck away. Danger. But, of course, there's a chest of gold, so a lot of guys are interested in joining this.
I will say this, they are so easily bought off because out of fear, basically, Alfredo was like, I should report you guys for illegally reading a confidential letter.
Right.
He's like, oh, how about, I just give you half off the room.
Santiago.
Actually, how about I just give you the room for free?
Yeah.
And in exchange, we'll give you these guys to help out with your little, militia.
Santiago immediately goes into supplementive mode.
These civilians will become your hired guns.
Yeah, they'll get you into this place.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Alfredo doesn't want to go in himself at first. And he's like, it's very funny.
I'm no good in the field.
Yeah, he says, I'm
more of a...
and I'm like, how great to send a field agent that's no good in the field. Yeah. We find out more why he doesn't want to go in later, but at first you're like, really?
He's field like, I'm more for the management task side. I'm not good in the field operations.
I literally rolled my eyes.
I'll just hold you back.
I literally rolled my eyes when he said, I'm no good at field work. I'm like... Why the fuck did we bring you then? Why are you a field agent if you're no good at field work? But we got three boys. Santiago's brother.
Some cross-eyed dude.
A poor, sad, cross-eyed man, and then another guy.
Big old brute.
Yeah, big brute dude.
Santiago's brother's name is Dandy, by the way, just so you know.
Dandy?
Dandy. Because he says his name repeatedly. He's like, that damn Dandy.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
Yeah, his name is Dandy.
That was
I thought it was an insult, like he was using it as
Well, at one point,
he keeps calling him Dandy, and that's his name.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go in and...
they break through the man's property. They
break in.
Take the chain off. They go in, and they're like, very slowly creeping around. You see all these iron crosses everywhere. Yeah. The camera is kind enough to pan us to the ground to show us all the bear traps that are hidden everywhere.
Yeah, our boy Potsy has handed out some bear traps in the garden. And they're knocking on the door, trying to get him to answer.
He's telling them, go away.
He is
get out of here.
Yeah, very reasonably asking them to go away. But they think they're goddamn government officials now.
We've been ordained by the new government to come search your property.
Yeah, this is a search. And, man, I wonder if this would have escalated the way it did. So what ends up happening is one of the fellas with a gun, the cross-eyed gentleman, is takes a step back
because he's scared
to get and to get a better bead on the door. And that step is into one of the bear traps, which causes him to scream and fire right as the door is opening. So our blacksmith has now been officially shot at, even though it was an accident. Possibly, he might have just opened the door with his regalia, which we will describe shortly, and just been like, I said, get the fuck out of here. But no, now the fight's on because someone fucking shot at him.
Yeah, so we get the door opening and
Describe
we see
his beautiful attire. I love this.
So Cross-Eyed Man has shot the first shot.
Yep.
And the other two gentlemen are like, what's happening? The door rips open and you see the blacksmith with a giant iron spiked shield that he has welded together.
Hell yeah.
Along with an iron mask that looks like something akin to Mad Max.
I was thinking it literally looked like the mask that the man in the iron mask wears.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man in the Iron Mask, Mad Max, Thunderdome.
You
all
get
that
the
shit.
idea.
It's close.
Yeah.
But he comes out, he's got his giant blacksmith hammer, and this is our first sign that
the one he didn't break, I suppose.
Maybe he's not as malicious as these people thought, because he does disarm and beat up the men with the guns, but he does not bodily harm them.
No.
He does not injure them to kill them or maim them.
No.
He does it to just beat them up and scare them off his property.
Yep.
And so he smashes the one's hand, he knocks the other on his ass, and then he goes to the Cross-Eyed Man and actually helps him out of the bear trap, screaming. This dumb cross-eyed motherfucker tries to stand up, gets 2 feet running, and because he can't see anything in front of him, thanks to his wonky eye, he trips face first into another bear trap. Or should I say neck first?
Face first, aka neck first, into a bear trap. That is a death sentence. He dies right there.
And so Dandy turns around, and all he sees is the blacksmith picking up his dead friend's body and screaming at him. So it looks like, perception-wise, it looks like the blacksmith did some horribly sadistic murder, like shoving his friend face first into a bear trap.
Yeah.
But what he didn't actually see is the blacksmith being like, oh, fuck, and pulling it open, trying to save the man's life before he bled out from the holes in his face and neck.
So everything we've heard about this blacksmith and seen may not reflect the reality.
He is a victim of circumstance right now. He is a victim of circumstance because these people think he just committed murder.
Yep.
When all he did was defend himself and tried to save someone who trespassed on his property.
By the way, Alfredo disappears as soon as the gates open.
Oh,
you don't see him again.
He was long gone.
Yeah, he's already back at the end.
I think he
enjoying a drink
as soon as the first shot happened.
Well, yeah. I honestly wonder if there was something about he had trouble getting past all the crosses. Because he kept saying things about not being able to get in. So yeah, I wonder if the crosses were giving him trouble for reasons that will become apparent shortly. We get a quick Mean Girls scene where 2 more girls are making fun of Usu. So sad, so cruel. She goes to talk to the priest about what they said, which is basically the same thing she's been hearing forever. Your mom's in hell because she's a suicide.
Man, little kids are so fucking evil, dude.
Yeah,
they're so fucking evil.
Although, we're getting ready to see the priest be just as bad. And the priest, even when he's trying not to be shitty, is shitty. Because at first he's like, look, you know why I'm hard on you. I'm just trying to raise you right and steer you away from sin. Like, at first he's trying to explain himself. And then she starts asking questions about her mom.
But these little girls, dude, little girls, first, they're like, you're poor, your doll is trashy and ratty because you don't have someone to give you one that loves you because you don't have parents.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where's her mom? She hung herself. Why don't you go hang from a rope? Yeah. And then again, in a sing-song voice, they're singing, go hang from a rope, hang from a rope.
They sure love that.
Telling this little girl to go fucking hang herself.
Yeah.
So, I thought, rightfully so, she double bitch slaps both of them. She got 2 for 1, which I thought that was great.
Yeah, she does not take shit.
Does like a demonic in their faces and they run off.
She yells and they run off because she's learned that bullies are cowards at heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when she has to go back inside to the priest, I'm like, that doesn't help the situation.
Yeah.
Like, one, they're exploiting her for child labor by making her go fetch their stupid fucking water.
Oh, yeah. She is paying for
while he's in there biting on the chains.
Yeah, oh yeah. He has bought the chains and is trying to cure his headache with chain biting, which not a cure. But yeah, she's paying for her room and board in the church with manual labor. She's getting the water for the stove. She's getting logs for the fire. She's doing all that stuff. While she's doing it, again, she's asking the priest, is there a way to get a soul out of hell? If my mom's gone to hell, as you say, because she's a suicide, can she ever be pardoned. Can we ever get her out of there?
He's like, no, it's final. It's a cardinal sin.
Yeah.
And I'll hear no more of it.
Again, priest tries to not be shitty and fails.
So she runs off, like it's appropriate temperament for her given the circumstance of her life. She runs off and she has a nice little somber moment where she's looking at her headless doll and she's like, I can let this completely ruin me, or I can
I'm gonna go get that
try
head
and
back.
make myself happy.
I'm gonna go get that head back because one of the other things the girls teased her about was that her doll would die because it didn't have a head, so it couldn't eat.
Yeah.
So she's also
You're gonna live.
She's also trying to keep her doll's soul out of hell by saving it. So she goes to the gate, which is now open because the chain was broken by Alfredo's boys when they were coming in, and she starts wandering around. And if you are watching, the camera keeps showing how close she keeps getting to these bear traps. She dodges them by luck or by God's divine intervention.
Right as she's about to get close to the door, or to where her doll is near the doorway, which that dude had a pretty good fucking arm if he threw it all the way up there.
Oh yeah,
I will say that he had a pretty good arm if he threw it all the way up near the doorway.
He chucked it.
The blacksmith starts coming out, dragging the fucking body of the dead cross-eyed man, because he's like, well, what the fuck do I do with it now?
Yeah, he's like, gotta bury this idiot.
And she manages to get away and do this little cat and mouse thing. Like, he doesn't know that she's there.
No.
So it's a funny little irony for us that he's like almost catching her and not even realizing he's about to catch her.
Yeah, looking for the shovel. And finally she finds like a little water tunnel that leads back into the smithy, which if you know anything about blacksmithing, you have to have water to go in and out to like cool your metals and stuff.
Or speed up the furnace.
Or to speed up the furnace. So she actually takes the waterway into the smithy. And as we've already been in here once, it is, first of all, I think this blacksmith may have a hoarding problem. This thing is crowded to the gills.
There's just iron gates and crosses of spikes everywhere.
Bunch of metal shit. Yeah, like that he probably used to sell back when he was a respected blacksmith. And now it's just, it's kind of seems like he's in a cycle. Like, he's still making stuff, but you don't even, like, why? You're not selling it.
It's just, like, extra protection.
Yeah, also...
Keep reinforcing so that, like, no demonic power...
Yeah, but he's just piling it up in his house. Like, it's getting to hoarder levels. Like, you're never going to need all those newspapers you have in the corner, man. Like, he's got so much weird, random shit that's just... piled everywhere.
So I can give a little bit of explanation why it's hoarding up like that.
Yeah, okay.
If it's like anything like the old like the Nun or the Exorcist movies where they have a shit ton of crucifixes piled up on a wall and just keep stacking them up, they believe that the more you have it, like let's say stuff that's made from iron prevents demons and the Fae from being able to like operate.
Yeah,
that old belief system. So the more iron and crosses that he stacks up, the more power they will not have.
Yeah.
Like, it will basically completely nullify it. So if they keep stacking it up, that's what I took away from
Although I dare say, if you ain't got enough now, man.
Especially if it's just a lowly demon.
Right. Although this demon still got a lot of its power.
So when she goes inside, she sees through the iron door. Yeah.
Chained
little
up
boy.
In a hanging cage, like a bird.
With spikes surrounding it.
Yeah.
And he's got a hot iron cross brand in his side. Like, he's been branded with a crucifix.
Yeah, he's like, he hurts me, get me out. The keys are on the blacksmith's belt. And she's like, shakes her head no.
So she goes and hides.
Yeah.
And he comes and he yells, and he's just like, the blacksmith is basically like, he's like, yeah, I got you. I know it, you little liar.
Yeah.
Like, you lie.
And I think Usu thinks he was talking about her for a minute, but then sees that he's yelling at the person in the cell, this little boy. And she keeps going back and forth about whether to help him or not. But finally, because she's a good kid, she's like, I'm going to get you out of there. And our blacksmith, Patsy, is meanwhile getting his ass drunk.
Yeah.
He has got...
lots of vodka.
She's got a gallon jug of clear liquor that he is just imbibing. Like, and of course he eventually passes out, because that's what happens when you drink a gallon of vodka. If it doesn't kill you, you at least sleep for a while. And she is able to get the keys with of course... You can't take the keys off a sleeping person without the jump scare of them like snoring in their sleep.
Almost woke up.
Yeah, gotta do that scene. I think it's a law. I don't think you're allowed to release a movie if you don't. But she gets the keys and she lets out our little kid. And the kid immediately just walks by her and grabs, like...
a pitchfork that was conveniently laying against the wall.
Again, this guy just makes metal shit and leaves it lying around.
You would think that if you put a demon's pitchfork somewhere, you would want to hide it better from them, right?
Well, this might not even be a demon. This might have been back when he used to have a job. Some farmer was like, hey, fix my pitchfork. And he fixed it and just left it on the wall because the guy never came back for it or whatever. Somehow this thing knew exactly where to go, though. It goes, grabs a pitchfork, and she's curiously following this kid like, I thought we were escaping now. What are you doing?
No, she watches the little boy stand on the table over the blacksmith's head.
With the pitchfork. She's like, oh, you're going to kill that blacksmith. Well, I get that. He imprisoned you for...
And then as it cuts away from the actual boy and just shows his shadow in the flames, the boy's body transforming into his demon form. Oh. And now we finally see the demon reveal himself in its true form as it's about to stand over and murder the blacksmith.
Yes.
But the demon looks over at the little girl and is just like grunting and laughing. And this little bit of hesitation before actually plunging it gives the fucking blacksmith enough time to wake up, realize what's happening, silently grab a hammer that was laying on the ground beside him, and wham! Smacks the demon like a little bitch.
Yeah. So they end up having like a little epic battle.
Yep.
While she tries to escape but falls and hurts her ankle. Unfortunately, but they're going back and forth. Like
the demon keeps doing a nightcrawler thing where like he gets smacked once and they'll poof disappear, and then he'll like
come back behind him with a rope and like
Oh no, those were like
I'm sorry, the iron tongs for pulling stuff out of the fire.
Almost puts the blacksmith's face into the fire.
Yeah,
but lucky for the blacksmith, he already had a hot iron branded crucifix waiting in the fire for him.
He always has one on tap because he
grabs it and he brands the demon's face. And that scream the demon let out whenever he got branded in the face.
Good scream.
Acting was on par.
But it makes sense because the blacksmith spends a lot of his days torturing this demon. But yeah, the demon takes off. And then Francisco Patsy, our blacksmith, hears a scream. It's the little girl. And the demon has caught a hold of her. And basically says, yep, I've escaped. I'm going to go. I'm going to come back with a fucking army. And this is just a little snack for the journey. Points to the little girl.
Sidebar before we get to this next. Yep. I just want to point out the appreciation that I have for the makeup effects of... It's a guy.
We're going to be a lot of
heavily
demons.
Detailed.
They all look great.
Heavily detailed, like, demonic makeup, but it's so good. Like, you can barely tell it's, like, an actual person.
Oh, yeah.
It's very well, like, dragon-scaled and horns and even the split tongue. It's, like, it's really cool. And really well done.
Yeah, and the actor within that makeup really sells it. Like, I felt... At no point did I doubt this was a demon. Yeah. A demon from hell.
And it was, like... It's funny because it was, like, those old-timey, like, mannerisms of a demon that you would... picture, like, they used to describe in medieval times and, you know, old, like, Inquisition times.
Yep.
That's what it reminded me of, was, like, where they're all like, hee little devils with pitchforks.
Yep.
On the fucking money.
Yeah, it is exactly that.
Because this demon grabs Ushui and is like, yeah, she's going to be my little snacky snack on the way back to hell. Yeah. I'll get your soul next, blacksmith. Goes to run away with Ushui in his arms.
Steps. Bear trap. My God. 3 steps into a bear trap.
And drops her headfirst onto a rock. So Ushui out cold. She's dead, but she's knocked out cold. Not to mention, right before that, when she was trying to run away, she rolled her ankle pretty bad.
Yeah. She's hurt.
And those little shitty cobble shoes.
She's got a bad ankle and a bump on her head. But our demon gets recaptured.
Yeah, he's like, no, I can't be.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Meanwhile,
can we talk about real quick? When the blacksmith, he gets knocked on his ass, and the demon warns him, don't come any closer, or I'll rip her fucking head off.
Yeah.
The blacksmith does not hesitate. He just steps forward anyways and goes to go lunge at him. Like, he did not care. He's like, I don't care about this kid. I'm just trying to get you.
Yeah, I think he was... I don't know, like, if he was blinded by rage or he knew it was bluffing. Like, I don't know what his motivation was. I assume he was just, I have to recapture this demon above all else. I don't want this little girl to die, but if she does and the demon gets recaptured, it's still a win because this thing must not be free. It must be in this cage so I can stab it every day because I hate it so much.
I love right before he drags the demon back into the smithy.
Yeah. When
the demon is crying out like, no! He gets a hammer smash to the face that breaks a piece of his horn off. He's like, my horn, you idiot! Smash in the face again, he's out cold. knocked out.
Yeah, well, honestly, if you had a demon that wouldn't shut the fuck up, you'd hammer him in the head till he shut the fuck up. We cut back to the end where it seems that there has been a witness to this atrocity of crime.
Yeah, because right before, when you see the blacksmith drag the demon back into the hut and pick up Ushui, you see a hand pick up the doll that was laying outside the gate. Mm-hmm. Benito somehow, again, followed Ushui just like he was accused of.
Because
he does
loves
follow
her.
her around, secretly follows her around.
Yeah.
He saw the devil himself, like the actual devil, is shocked by it, and he also saw what he thought was the blacksmith killing Ushui.
Yeah.
And so he goes back and tells everyone at the end, "Oh yeah, I saw the blacksmith has a devil there, and he got Ushui while he was there."
And Alfredo, who is back, is like, "Well, we got to raise an army. We've got to take this place down. I'm deputizing this whole fucking bar. We got to get that kid back. And hey, maybe I'll find some Russian gold while we're at it."
And that's what I was saying earlier. Is like the blacksmith just keeps becoming a victim of circumstance.
Yeah,
like a victim.
Yeah, he's just got bad. He does not have a good PR team. Bad optics. He just keeps getting under bad optics.
It's like the beginning of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, where it just seemed like they were doing bad shit when they really weren't.
Like, these people keep killing themselves and we're not doing nothing. They're just killing themselves all over our property. Yeah, we're trying to help them out.
That's another movie I'd cover for the show. I loved it.
Agreed. It was on my list. I haven't got...
Yeah.
But, he's a victim of circumstance, and like you said, the fucking Alfredo is like, all right, I'm going to deputize all of you random people. All you town folk, grab your pitchforks and guns.
You know who's really good at issuing out justice? A town militia. So
it was a lynch mob. It wasn't a militia. It was a lynch mob.
That's actually a better term. Only Alfredo looks at that and thinks militia. Everyone else knows it's. I love this scene. The demon, who we learned is named Sartell, is
say it right. Satriel.
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 Yes.
Muy bien, Satriel.
It's Latin, but okay.
Satriel is thrown in his cage, and he's funny because he's talking shit the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 your wife misses you. And the blacksmith's like, hey, you know who missed you? And slaps him in the face with a crucifix. Like, Jesus missed you, bitch. And just...
and he's just repeatedly getting stabbed with a hot iron rod.
I fucking love, hey, you know who missed you? Wham! Cross, bitch. That made me so happy. Yeah. And then we find out the pact.
Yes, we finally get the backstory.
So, long story short, is our boy Francisco, our blacksmith, was worried he would not get back from the war. The war, obviously, people shooting at each other. He wants to desert and get back to his wife. And a demon, of course, appears and is like, I will make a pact with you that you will make it back home unharmed. Which I think is why at the beginning we keep seeing him getting shot and nothing happening.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's part of his demon pact. And sure enough, he does. Demon's like, look, I upheld my end of the bargain. It is not my fault that your wife could not stand your sorry ass and hung herself because you're such a fucking barbarian troll.
Hey, he says, like, I gave you what you wanted, you got your right back. Yeah. He's like, you got to see her. And he's like, but not like that.
Yeah. It's like, I never thought when I made a deal with the devil, it would be all like fucked up and monkey's paw and shit. I'm like, oh, you poor naive little man. And one of my the quotes I really like is Satriel says, hell never leaves loose ends. Like, we will get your soul, my blacksmith friend.
No matter how long it takes, it'll happen.
Yeah, I will live forever. You will eventually die. Like, you are a human with a stupid human lifespan, and I'll be here long after you're gone. So that soul, yum, 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 it will be.
And of course, Paxi, after that initial deal happened, he wasn't happy about the fact that, like, he felt like he was tricked by the devil. Like, he basically was tricked into giving away his soul when the demon, Satriel, knew what was going to happen when he got home.
Yes, and we'll get a little more about what actually happened shortly.
And so for the last 8 years, he has had that demon trapped in that cage, torturing him, killing him. Not killing him slowly, but like painfully prodding him, branding him.
It's kind of a dual thing, because at first it's like he obviously can't let the demon go. Because demons, when out and about, cause trouble. But he's no hero. Because he takes a sadistic glee in torturing this thing every night. The screams that the townspeople have been hearing have been this demon as he probably wasted on vodka, is just poking it with hot pokers 24/7. We'll see some of the games he plays shortly because our little girl has woken up.
And this actually, like I was going to say, does give an indication, just like earlier, that he's not all fucking malintent.
The blacksmith is nicer to this girl than anyone else in this movie has ever been. He comes in when she wakes up, and he does the whole, hey, look, don't be scared. I'm not going to hurt you. You can go. Here's the doll head you were looking for. He has like the...
he actually helps her with her bad ankle by taking her scarf. Her
mother gave her. He ties it around her ankle.
He recognized that scarf as soon as he asks, like, where'd you get this? And she says, my mom. She died before I was born.
Yeah,
folks. Like, shortly after I was born.
It's a weird coincidence that both her mother and the blacksmith's wife hung themselves, isn't it?
8 years ago.
Yeah, and the timeline seems to match up. And here's the funny... I thought this was fucking hilarious. So, this blacksmith goes from like, okay, be on your way, to, hey, you want to meet my demon? Come on, let me show you.
I wrote this down. I was like, this is actually kind of a sweet, sadistic, funny part.
It was stupid.
It's like a nice little bonding moment.
Let me do stupid pet tricks with my demon I've caged up for you, little girl. And the two of them have a grand old time torturing this demon. And the little girl... First of all, she has a lovely smile.
Yeah.
Like, when she smiles, it lights up her whole face. I was like, oh, I want to see you smile more, little girl. You've had a rough life. But, yeah, what she is smiling about is torturing this demon. Because the demon's not making any friends here. Just talking about how suicides go to hell. And yeah, it's a bit of a sore spot for our little girl.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
There's two parts of this next that's coming up for me. So
the chickpeas.
This is where we did get to find out his name was Satriel, thanks to Paxi being like, his name is Satriel. He's just a messenger demon.
Yeah.
He's not even a big bad boy demon.
Yeah, because she asked, right? Is this the devil?
And he's like, no, he's just a lowly messenger demon. Yeah. Isn't that right, Satriel?
And Satriel's like, fuck you.
Yeah. And so Ushui gets even more upset. She's like, you're a liar! Grabs the hot iron brand and starts just poking him. Yeah. And this is what makes Paxi be like, huh. Hey,
I like this
you want to try this? Do this. Watch what happens when you do this.
He shows her all these different tricks. They have a bell that they can ring that's blessed, and it...
no. That comes shortly after. He's like, this is my favorite.
He
pulls out the holy golden bell.
Oh, no. Gold bell.
And that is one of the pieces of gold that was stolen during the Russian war thing.
Yeah.
And... It's this blessed holy ornament that they ring in
a little
church.
handbell, yeah.
And
he's like, ring it.
It hurts Satriel's ears, like basically makes his insides bubble and boil. And during that, when he's being tortured to his max, Satriel screams like, this is why I hate torturing you humans. All you do is beg and plead, and I hate having to torture you.
Yeah, which is interesting. Satriel doesn't like torturing people any more than, obviously, he likes being tortured.
Dare I say it shows a little bit of humanity
for a little bit of humanity, which is interesting. Then we do the chickpea trick.
Okay, so we got to talk about this.
I love the chickpea trick.
The chickpea trick is actually a racist thing.
Is it?
I didn't know if you knew that, and I want to talk about that.
Please, enlighten me.
Okay, so this trope for me is a big red flag because the chickpea thing... they dump a jar of chickpeas out, and the demon has no choice but to count every single one of them.
Yeah.
And every time they mess up his count, he has to start over.
Yeah. And he can't, it also makes him blind, because all he can see is the chickpeas.
Okay. So, you didn't know that it was a racist thing.
No, not at all.
All right. This is a racist trope that has been portrayed by media about Jewish people.
Oh.
In regards to calling Jewish people in mediums all throughout history, whether it be Inquisition times, World War II times,
bean counters. Is that where the term bean counters comes from?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Fuck.
Penny pinchers, bean counter, that trope is what it comes from, is basically associating Jewish people with demons.
Oh my god.
Yes, it is a very fucked up trope.
Holy shit.
Yes, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my god.
We are breaking ground here. I did not know that.
Yes,
wow.
It is something that they use as a propaganda technique to basically perpetuate that Jewish people are of the demons rather than of the faithful because they killed our Messiah, blah, 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 blah. Those arguments of the crazy right-wingers and stuff. But it's something that I knew stood out, and I was like, why is this so familiar?
For me, I just thought it was like a Fae thing. You know how Fae always have this really weird rules, like, oh, you can't step into a druidic circle, and if you make a salt pentagram, as long as it's not disturbed, you can control things. Like, I thought it was just one of those random rules, you know? Because all the Fae and all the demons, they just have fucking weird-ass rules.
That would be nice if that was it.
I wish it was.
But unfortunately, when it comes to the religious context...
Yeah.
In religious context, it is something that is a derogatory racial propagated trope of Jewish people.
Well, I'll be damned.
You know, like even in World War II, you know, when they had like whole "How do you find the Jews?"
This is just like the Gremlins episode where we talked about Gremlins messing with World War II planes, and it was actually a racist trope. Yeah.
So but this is a very old one. This one goes back to even before World War II, where, you know, there was a lot of Eastern European countries that were anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic, and they propagated this idea is that
Germany didn't invent that shit.
Jew devils, you've heard that.
Oh, I heard that.
So that's where this whole idea comes from.
Wow.
And also is why demons are depicted with large noses.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fucked up, dude. It's fucked up.
Thank you, Goreship, for bringing this to my attention.
Thank my world socioeconomic history professor from App State, Dr. Eric Lesher.
Yeah.
He was
shout out.
Yeah.
Send him this episode.
This motherfucker was. I'll never forget this man because he taught me all the fucked up dark history parts of like the first religions in the world.
That's what college is for.
And you want to know why I will never forget him? Because day one of his opening lecture is like, all right, we're going to talk about religions, and we're going to talk about this one in particular. Let me start by saying Jesus was a Jew. The Jew of all Jews.
Yeah.
And we're all like, what? He's like, it's okay. I am formerly Jewish. I am now atheist. I renounced my Hasidic Judaism, and I teach the world about the realness of the way history created religions.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that man because of the shit that he said on day one, all throughout the stuff that he actually
gotta have a
us.
hook.
Yeah.
I know in my
he's a big part of the reason why I know any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It could have been him being a self-hatred thing for his own culture, but he was very honest about it. He's like, okay, so the Jewish people did do this, and this was something that the Christian Roman Catholics decided to do as a way to stereotype them. And, you know, that's where the idea of, like, them being greedy comes from, and always counting every piece of gold.
Well, that it was, money handling was considered unclean, and so it was kind of like, it was the only job Jewish people could get.
Yeah.
So, like, it was this weird catch-22 when they were like, ooh, we don't want to touch money. Merchants are the lowest class. And since we hate you,
and
you can go be merchants.
It took a 180 where it became the most high-profile job.
Well, once money ruled everything around me. Thanks,
which obviously didn't fucking take long.
Yeah. Then it was like, oh, look, they've stolen all. It's like, you gave them. You know what it reminds me of? And this is a weird field, but it's like how we talk about Southern cooking and how good it is. But it's made with the parts of the animals that slaves were given because we wouldn't eat them. Yep. We being white people wouldn't eat them. And it's like, oh, wow. They took the worst jobs and the worst parts of the animal and they turned them into like some of the best tasting food. Like Jewish people took the worst jobs and turned it into the most enviable jobs. And then somehow that was the Jewish people's fault. You know what? I'm going to take this is a brave stance. I don't think anti-Semitism makes a lot of sense. I'm going to throw that out there. I've thought about it. Doesn't make a lot of fucking sense to me. I've done the math. Look, I've drawn the diagrams. It doesn't make a lot of fucking sense to me.
Compare your charts with Kanye's charts, all right? Maybe we'll get a different fucking...
Kanye. I hope Kanye gets some fucking help.
But
anyway.
So that chickpea trope is definitely something that, like, raised my eye because I knew where the folklore trope came from and what it means to be when you do that to a devil. It has a Jewish insulting connotation to it.
Wow.
That's where that comes from. But anyways,
then after they've teased this person enough, I think
Ushui feels bad for hurting his ears.
Yeah, well, that's why I think
she feels guilt for torturing him so much.
Eventually, she stops smiling, and Francisco notices that, and he's like, oh, she's feeling bad about that. Okay, we'll stop.
She has conscience.
Yeah, and he's like, you know what, it's time to go. I'm gonna take you home. And so while he's going to get a lantern to light the way, because, hey, bear traps everywhere, she apologizes to the demon, and my heart melted. Or grew 3 sizes that day. Either way, I was like, oh my god, this girl is the sweetest fucking girl. And then she makes the horrible mistake of asking the demon about her mother.
Yeah. And he's like, oh no, she's definitely in hell. She's for sure.
He's like, I don't know, because there's a lot of souls. I don't keep track of them. But if what you say is true, yeah, that bitch is burning. And he says, another quote I wrote down, you should see the lines of lost souls dragged along by their guilt without anyone forcing them, waiting to get into hell. I love the idea that most people go to hell because of their own guilt. It has nothing to do with whether they deserve it or not.
Yeah.
They go because they feel they deserve to be punished. And we will see examples of that later, of a dude who's basically like a punish me daddy, who just wants to get into hell because he knows he's done wrong and he wants to be punished for it.
The dude is like, I'm unclean. I deserve this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so the smithy notices that Satriel's hurting her feelings, and he knocks him the fuck out again with a hammer. Yeah. And he's just...
Which, thank God.
Immediately.
Because I will say this. Had he not knocked him out, he would have done this turn into a kid thing again. Mm-hmm. And Blacksmith would have gotten even more trouble than he got into. So the blacksmith gets a lantern. He leads her to the gate, to his gate.
And what do you know? The fucking angry lynch mob is here.
You know what? Their timing is great.
Impeccable.
They arrive. They arrive at the gate at the same time, and of course, no one listens to our little Usu girl.
They just fucking tossed her to the side and beat up the old man.
She tries to tell him the blacksmith's innocent.
Like, he didn't do anything to me.
Alfredo is leading the charge against him. Like, to take him. He whispers something to Santiago's brother Dandy. Excuse me. We don't know what it is. We'll find out later.
The other big brute guy's name is Miguel, by the way.
And Miguel, Big Brute, who I thought Miguel was Santiago's brother.
No.
Okay.
Miguel was the big brute who ran away.
Okay. Well,
he left the cross-eyed dude in the fucking trap, and he was one of the first ones out the gate before Dandy could.
Gotcha. Dusty. So yeah, they subdue the blacksmith. And they're like, okay, we're going to go in. Well, actually, Alfredo's like, all right, I'll go in and get the money. And Santiago, again, he's the smartest townsperson, I dare say. Him and his wife are the brains of this operation. They're like, not without us, you're not, buddy. We're all going in.
To which Alfredo's like, oh yeah, I thought about that, guys. And then they have them raise the guns to them to keep them from going inside with him, and they shut the door.
Right. Yeah, they stop them. They let them go in, but then when they get to the doors of the actual smithy, his own brother pulls a gun on Santiago's like, nah, guys, you're staying outside. Makes him give him the
fucking keys.
Yeah, you guys are staying outside.
When they do get inside, the priest is with them, along with Alfredo and the hired thugs, and the priest sees Satriel, and he's like, oh, my God, you have restored my faith. Seeing a demon has restored his faith because it now confirms that there is a heaven and a hell.
Well, also he's got illusions of grandeur because he's like, I'm going to take him to the Vatican.
I'll become a lord of Lord Bishop or whatever.
And our boy Sar is like, I can help you with that.
I see the price of your soul.
Yeah, it's a nickel. Let me out of this cage, and I will make sure that you become the fucking Pope. Which, hey, no. No.
And so Alfredo's like, actually, no, this is a government official business. This has nothing to do with the church. He's like, no, I gotta take the demon from the church. Then they give the priest a nice little gut check with the butt of their guns and be like, all right, get the fuck out, old man.
Yeah, the old man is sent packing.
Yeah, and so now
the blacksmith is tied up, and excuse me.
Alfredo's like, yeah, just go rough him up and tell him to tell us where the gold is. Again, Alfredo actually doesn't give a shit about the gold because now
he wants to talk to the prisoner here.
He turns to Satriel.
Yeah, Satriel.
And he's like, "Who are you? I don't know you." He's like, "Oh, it's such a shame to see what has become you, little Satriel." He's like, "Who are you?" And then his eyes glow, and he's like, Alastor.
Yeah.
The demon Alastor, that big fucking one of the princes of hell.
Yeah, Alastor's one of the big wigs. He is one of the big boys.
One of the 9 princes of hell.
Yeah. And Alastor is basically here to tell him, to tell our boy Sartiel, hey, I'm leaving you there. That's your punishment. Oh, and if you do get out, you've been demoted to the 5th circle of hell.
The circle of sadness and boiling pots.
The sad and repressed melting pot, which, honestly, that's a That would be a great name for America now. The sad and repressed melting pot. That's our country. But yeah.
Not only that, Alistar is coming to take the blacksmith's soul, which is basically robbing Satriel of his bounty.
Yep. And he's like, let me... And he's like, one of the crimes that Satriel committed was revealing his true form. And Alfredo's like, look at the loyalty I've earned without revealing who I am. And it shows the two guys who are torturing the blacksmith. It's like, this is how you get loyalty. You don't flaunt your demonness to people. You manipulate. And you were not cut out to be a soul taker. Which is just a mean thing to say. And there's a heartbreaking scene where they're like, all right, hang the blacksmith. And when they throw the rope over, the remains of the rope that his wife used are right there. So the blacksmith is getting ready to be hung right next to where his wife hung herself. Which, fuck.
Which also, before this, or is it right at this time, we actually find out the truth about Ushui.
Yes.
And the blacksmith.
Yeah.
So, Ushui is the daughter of
Francisco, the blacksmith's wife.
Deceased wife.
But from
not
another
his
man.
child.
Yeah.
So what happened was when he sold his soul and he came back, he was a deserter. He came home to find his wife, who was happy
nursing
to think
a child
that he was dead.
From another man.
She had fallen in love with another man and bore his child. This whole time thinking that Patsy was dead.
Yeah, she's not a guilty party in this. She moved on because her husband had died.
And so in a rage, he grabs the child and holds the child, baby Ushui, over the fire, getting ready to throw her in. That's where she has that scar on her face. He burned baby Ushui's face out of rage.
Yeah.
And in doing so, the fucking baby daddy, you never know who the baby daddy is.
It's not important.
Comes in and gets into a scuffle with Patsy, who then kills him.
Yeah. The wife...
Patsy's wife tries to defend him and stabs Patsy in the back. But he gets away just barely. She, unconsolable, winds up hanging herself.
Yeah.
A month later, the priest commissions a new church bell to be made by Patsy, not knowing what's happened.
He delivers the bell and the baby.
Yep, and then tells the father what happened.
Yeah, and he's like, the baby's yours now. So the father reveals this to everyone. He tells the story because they ask. They're like, oh, is she the blacksmith's child? And the pastor's like, no. And then explains this backstory. Our demon boy, Sartiel, is like, hey, little girl, get that bell and ring it.
She came back into the building because she heard the story. Like, she knows that the blacksmith...
Well, she's trying to save the blacksmith.
Yeah, but the thing is, she heard this story, and even knowing who the blacksmith really was, she still wanted to save him.
Yeah, because he was the only person in this whole village that was nice to her.
Yeah, but imagine hearing that, like, hey, the reason why you have the scar on your face is that man in there.
Yeah.
The reason why your mother hung herself is that man in there.
Yeah.
This says so much about this little girl's character.
She is... Yeah. Sartiel says it later, hey, this girl's too good for hell. And he's right. But she gets the bell and rings it, which of course affects both demons.
Yep.
Yeah,
Alistar and Satriel both.
The blacksmith is able to escape.
But
this is so good! Sartiel's escape. His attempted escape.
Yeah. God. Hold on a second before we talk about that.
Yeah.
So when she rings the bell, it affects Satriel, of course, but also Alistar. And the townfolk are just looking back, like the two thugs are looking back at him, and they see Alistar's half of his real face be revealed.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my god, he's a demon too.
Yeah.
And then he actually winds up finally revealing himself.
Actually, yeah, they tear ass out.
Yeah.
And open the door, and that's when the priest comes in and reveals.
Yeah.
Reveals her. We did that a little out of order, but yeah, they had to run because Alistar also much bigger. I mean, this is like a 14-foot, 18-foot tall demon, not a little baby.
Satriel tears ass out of there and says, sorry, bitch, I'm not going back to hell. I'm not going to help you find your mom.
Yeah.
So Ushui, being upset that the deal wasn't held upon, she decides, you're also a demon, right, Mr. Alistar?
Oh, this part was so sad.
And he's like, yes, I am. He's like, can you help me find my mother? Can you take me to her?
It's like,
I will take you to hell.
Hey, here's the thing. Gotta give him a little credit. He says, are you sure? Even Alistar didn't want to take this kid's soul. He's like, are you sure, little girl?
And
she
so
said yes.
They shake hands.
The deal is shook.
Alistar changes into his true gigantic demon form.
He is a tall motherfucker.
And with one pitchfork, stabs down into Ushui. You never see her get killed by the pitchfork, but it basically implies that he stabbed into her soul to take it to hell.
Yep.
Cut to outside, and Satriel's almost free. He runs past the townsfolk.
Another bear trap.
Bam! Bear trap! And he literally says, "Not again!"
Satriel, I felt so bad. He became the lovable loser at this juncture. I felt so bad for him. The townspeople just start beating the fuck out of him.
Kicking him, putting the boots to him.
Because why wouldn't you? A demon just ran by you, and now it's
stuck in a trap
in trouble.
It's the same exact trap he fell into, or literally the same one at the same location.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh, I will say this, though. The reason she fucking takes this deal from fucking our pasta chef, Alfredo, is because the demon says, "May the devil take you to hell to join your horror of a mother." Because the priest is mad she let the other demon out. So she's looking at him and the demon, and she
chooses the demon.
She chooses the demon because the priest is such a fucking piece of shit.
Man or the bear?
Oh God. Yeah, man or bear. Priest or demon.
Yeah.
That's our new updated man or bear.
Priest or demon.
The man or bear thing, it's been on the internet more than 2 minutes, so now it's old shit. So now we're doing priest or demon. And yeah, she chooses Alistair, and I don't fucking blame her.
And Patsy is very distraught by this. He grabs her body, brings her outside, and decides, fuck it. Fuck it. Satriel, take me to hell. You win. You win, dude. You get my soul.
But he's
take
a thinking man's
hell.
wrestler. He's fucking Triple H. He's the cerebral assassin. He's like, I'm not going alone. I need these, unfortunately, I need these chickpeas, and I need the bell from the town center.
With the holy gold.
Yeah, they get the bell, and they realize that's where he hid all the rest of the Tsar's gold. He literally donated it to the church without anyone knowing. And he's like, well, I'm going to take it back. And fucking Miguel and Dandy are like, no, we're going to... And Santiago punks his brother.
That.
Yeah.
And Miguel's like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah.
You just knocked your brother out. We're fine.
Yeah. The big buff Miguel steps down immediately. And Santiago, again, the quiet MVP of this story is like, what do you need? We're here. We're going to help you. Like, we're going to get that little girl back. Like, fucking Santiago, I wanted to hug him at this point. He's like, yeah, what you need. And we end up coming up with a plan, a rescue child from hell plan. At this point, I was like, are we really going to hell? And sure enough, we're going to hell.
And so I was a little confused how he was able to physically, to bring a physical bag of weapons.
I believe it was part of the deal he cut with Satriel.
Okay.
Like, that was part of their deal.
Because when he stabbed him with the pitchfork, he's like, oh, wait, did you stab me? Are we here?
Yeah,
but
he just opens his eyes. He's in the...
It was so quick.
He's in the waiting line for hell.
Yeah.
Which, let me just say, a lot of parallels between this and Chick-fil-A. It's a long line, but it moves really effectively.
Yeah.
Like, they're really getting people through.
I gotta say, the depiction of hell and the references that they gave about hell in this is like this weird combination of like Dante's Inferno and the Nine Circles of Hell, as well as like Paradise Lost depiction of hell, where it's just this giant unholy kingdom with a long bridge that leads to the different sectors. Yeah. So it was like a mashup of Dante's Inferno and Paradise Lost.
And 10% of the Gates of Hell in Sandman, and 10% the Gates of Hell and What Dreams May Come.
Yeah. Like when they actually got past the bridge and you saw the kingdom of hell, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Sandman.
Yeah.
But then when they talk about like, oh yeah, there's different layers to this, I'm like, oh, so it is Dante's Inferno.
Oh yeah. Well, even when Satriel's getting demoted to the fifth layer.
I meant like the physical depiction. Like you could actually see, like once they get past the bridge, you could see the different layers that go down to the chasm.
And it was as described. People were just begging to get into hell. People were just cutting in line even. And you have a line of demons, one with a face on its ass. That was my favorite.
I love that. Yeah. All right, so the costume stuff, this is what I was like, they literally brought the old time etching artwork to life. Like these
not just old time. If you remember some of Salvador Dali's paintings of hell, literally had faces on the asses.
Yeah.
Like that was stolen straight from the Salvador Dali
the face on the ass, there's a face on the crotch region. There's one that's completely blind, but his face is on his neck, like on his throat.
Yeah, I love like this was just a chance for the people that did makeup to go to have some fun.
They did the really fat demon at the gate.
Yeah, you gotta have
with
a
the
fatty.
pig nose.
Gotta have a fatty at the gate.
I love that shit. I was like,
they're yelling about people cutting in line and stuff. And Satriel is like, follow my lead. 2 questions in, he's fucking useless. He's like, I don't like. They ask what Francisco's got on his back.
Yeah.
And he's like, and right at this moment, he sees Ushui up ahead and just runs to catch up with her, ignoring all the demons. And like Satriel just quietly starts backing up.
And I'm like, the other demon's like, we got a troublemaker.
Useless.
We got a troublemaker who's not moving on the bridge.
And
like he's not going in.
But the big dog.
Then we get Alastor in his giant demon form.
He is so tall. When he walks out, he kicks a demon. Did you see the demon go flying?
Yeah, I thought that was a good little bit of humor added to it.
Yeah. Apparently, Alastor is hot shit in hell. And of course, the fucking the chickpeas counter thing, which is
actually worked on Alastor.
Yeah, and he's a slow counter too. He was like 1, 2. I was like, oh, you got hours to get past this guy. And the doors start to shut, and literally, people are trying to get in the doors before they shut, trying to get into hell. But Paxi sends the girl back with Satriel, and he looks back at her. He's like, "Yeah,
I'm going to find your mom.
I'm going to find your mom."
I thought about this,
and I was like, "Oh,
hold on, yeah, aw for that." But at the same time, imagine being the mom, not knowing anything that's going on, and you just see the fucking bastard that made you want to kill yourself in hell with you,
dinging a big bell,
coming to find you.
Yeah, because he's using the bell as a weapon. Yeah, and he's like walking through hell, dinging it,
which was depicted in the opening credits.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the Bring Out Your Dead dudes.
Yeah, we were given foresight into the ending of this through the artwork that was being played at the very beginning when they were talking about the myth of the fucking blacksmith.
Well, in more ways than one too, because Satriel, once he gets back to the real world, turns into a human. Yep. And he catches a ride with a wagon, and he starts the story over, which is just fucking, like, what a perfect bookend for this tale is to have Satriel repeat the beginning of the book, telling it to this guy as a story.
So Patsy takes the bag with his hammer, gets all the way to the entrance of the gates of hell, and the doors close on him. Yeah. He's like, oh, no, you don't. Starts ringing the bell, and it forces the doors of hell to open.
Yep, and he
just keeps ringing it, hurting every demon in hell.
Yeah.
And that's where his legend came from.
As long as his arm don't get tired, he can go get anybody he wants, honestly.
We cut back to Satriel bringing Ushui back to life on Earth.
Yeah.
And
he warned, I forgot, before he leaves, he warns the town folks, this girl was too good for hell.
And she's a saint. And she was cast out of hell.
And if any of you send her back there,
I'll come and bite your thumbs off.
I'll come bite your thumbs off. And I assume he means metaphorically. Like, if you do anything to make her life hard, I'm going to come eat them thumbs.
Even better, he said, I'll bite your thumbs off in your sleep.
Well, yeah, you want to wake up and not be able to tell people they did a good job.
And after he tells them I'm going to bite your thumbs off in your sleep, he says, now goodbye, and runs off.
Yeah, because he's got a place to go. He's a coward
campy.
At heart.
So campy, but he runs off in the woods, and yes, he turns into a human form again, and winds up being discovered by a traveler along the way, and the traveler asks him, like, so what happened to you? What's your story?
Yeah.
He's like, so there was this blacksmith, and we're at the beginning.
Yep. We start over.
The end is the beginning.
Perfect end to this tale. Oh, and even the bully gives her doll back.
Yeah.
Like, even the bully.
He reattached it for
it. He fixed it and is giving it back to her. So we have a happy ending. You have to wonder what happens with Francisco in hell. Maybe they'll make a sequel. But until then, this is where we end it. And I don't know. I feel like I've said everything I need to say about it. I fucking love this movie, and I recommend all of you who have not watched it, watch it. Please,
it's
it
a
is
good
fucking
horror
great.
Fantasy based off, old...
a period horror piece. That's the word I was looking for.
Good folklore horror piece.
Yes.
But thoroughly enjoyed it, man. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I was glad that we finally got around to watching it. Well, it was... I don't know what I thought it was going to be versus what we actually watched.
I had no idea. From that one sentence description, I had no fucking... I was like, is this going to be puppets? Like, I had no idea. I thought it was going to be like the weird, like, Punch and Judy old England-style puppets. But, man, it was great. Loved it. Are we going to do this again next month? And if so, what are we going to talk about?
So...
I got my pen out. I'm ready to write it down.
Next month, I figured we're going to get a little PG with it.
Okay.
And by PG, I mean we're going to do Psycho Goreman.
Psycho Goreman?
Yeah, PG Psycho Goreman.
Oh.
That is available to watch on Shudder, Amazon Prime, probably on Plex.
Right. Psycho Goreman.
Yeah. The reason why I'm choosing Psycho Goreman is because this was a horror fantasy, and Psycho Goreman is a action horror fantasy made by one of the guys who did Kamen Rider.
Oh, shit.
So it's got them Super Sentai Kamen Rider vibes.
Okay, one of our listeners is doing backflips right now, and I'll tell you after the podcast. I'm going to keep her anonymity, but yeah, she's doing backflips. I
chose Psycho Goreman, and I decided to.
So this is a Japanese joint.
No, it's actually American, but it's made by someone who was the producer-writer for Kamen Rider.
Wild.
Yes,
all right, I'm here
and it's a Shudder exclusive. And you can tell by the character design and even by some of the fucking action plot.
Oh.
It is very gory, but it's in the vein of Power Rangers and Kamen Rider.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
You're going to fucking love it.
I'm so
excited. You're going to love it.
Yes.
The dialogue is hilarious. It's fucking outrageous.
All right.
And it is on the more comedic action horror side.
Oh, that's
lots of gore. Lots of gore. I mean, it's in his name, Psycho Goreman.
Yeah. It would be disappointing if not.
But I decided to do that because it's one of my favorites in the recent last 3 years. Is one of my favorites. I love Kamen Rider.
Yeah.
I was so over the moon when I found out that some of the writers and directors of Kamen Rider were making this movie.
Right.
Definitely, just from character design work to actual fight sequences, it felt like watching an episode of Kamen Rider that was elongated.
Oh my god! All right,
so let's do it. So dope.
Oh, let's do it. But before we leave you for today, we still have to open up a jump short.
Yeah, I decided to do a precursor to get into our action hero stuff by lubricating us up with a little bit of junk talk.
Appreciate the lube, my friend.
Yeah, lubricate it up for PG.
Junk talk.
And our junk talk is The Spider.
Yes,
it's a 2024 horror Spider-Man fan film. It's as it says, it's a horror take on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Origin story. It's only about 9.5 minutes long.
Yeah, I did not read the description, so
it literally just says a horror take on Spider-Man.
What I was saying, what I told Goreship before we started was I was super excited by how quickly I picked up on that it was a Spider-Man. They even got a guy that looked like Peter Parker.
Yeah, so, alright, this horror short called The Spider was written and directed by Andy Chen. It was produced by Kalani Kiyotora, Art and John, and Chandler Riggs. Chandler Riggs also is the starring lead who plays Peter, a.k.a. Peter Parker. Chandler Riggs is most notoriously known for being Carl from The Walking Dead. Carl.
That's Carl?
That's Carl from The Walking Dead.
I'll be damned, didn't recognize him.
Exactly, he's all grown up.
What a good
He doesn't have a southern dad screaming, Carl! Yes, but that's Chandler Riggs. It features Holgi Forrester, Carl Advocate, Matthew Tyler Vorse, Ben Thomas, Gailey Cowan, Kyra Gardner, David W. Rice, and Kalani Katura herself, along with Andrew Harnan. It was edited by Gianluigi Carella, and the post-credit CGI creature design was made and animated by Joshua Leichberg.
Yes, watch this one to the very end. You get a nice little...
just like all Marvel tropes, you get a little post-credit scene.
Get a little post-credit yucky spider.
So, I gotta ask...
All right.
This is such a quick shit. We know the origin story of Spider-Man, of Peter Parker.
Yes.
As comic nerds, your second podcast, being Comic Dissection, you are very versed in this background story.
Yes.
You've seen and you've read the different Peter Parker origins so many times.
Mm-hmm.
So, I gotta ask, what did you think about this take?
Here's the thing, and you may remember this as well, Goreship. This is a Spider-Man storyline.
Exactly. Man Spider.
Yeah, there's a time when he tries to quit being Spider-Man and ends up becoming more Spider-Man. He grows 4 extra arms and eventually turns to look like a spider. They even did it on the Spider-Man animated series. So this was a real love letter. You could tell that people did this. Love Spider-Man.
This is a right off the jump. Yeah. What if he never became Spider-Man, but it just was
a Spider-Man.
Man Spider.
Man spider. Yeah, a monster spider. Yeah, like a werewolf. A were-spider, except he's only got the one form. Yeah, and I fucking loved it. I loved all the little nods. They had a J. Jonah Jameson look-alike. They had him kill his Uncle Ben instead of,
the carjacker.
Yeah, instead of the carjacker. So
and even Uncle Ben kind of teased, you know what we said about responsibility, right?
Well, even being named Ben is a fucking huge red flag. But yeah, the idea that the guilt of Uncle Ben's death is now much more directly Peter than I let a criminal run by me. Oh, Man, it's chef's kiss. It was
very
good
quick
stuff.
and well done, put together. So your opening of the Spider is you see Peter going
Watch the
through
first 15 minutes of Tobey Maguire's movie and you got it.
Basically you see Peter taking pictures and he gets his hand bit by a radioactive spider. He's not feeling so well. He goes home and as he's on his way home, walking through the street, he gets hit by a fucking car. And the dudes who get out of the car decided, we're just going to pickpocket this motherfucker.
Well, one of them is. The other one's like...
Hey, he's just a kid, man.
Yeah, they're like, what? Kids don't have wallets?
Yeah, he's not stopping them, though.
Yeah, no, he is not. I'm not saying he's a good guy. But
that's how you know it's New York. That's like the realness of New York, right? You got hit going down an alley, and the dude, instead of helping you, was like, let's just fucking rob him.
Yeah.
Very, very New York. Dead ass.
But Peter... but
for all my New Yorkers, dead ass.
I lived in New York. They're not all like that. All the ones that will hit you with their car are like that. I will say that. Peter grabs his hand like he's gonna try and get helped up.
I love that.
But his hands have got that spider stickiness thing going on, and he rips the skin off the dude's hand. Is what it looked like to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. His hand is so sticky, it just pulled the man's flesh right off, and he basically degloved his hand.
Yeah.
And the guy runs back to his car screaming, as you might expect. The other guy's just like, what the fuck? And gets in the car and they drive away.
And we get a shot of the bite, too. And the bite... In all the Spider-Man things, the bite disappears the next day, and it's fucking
just like a little tiny zip.
Yeah, you never notice it. Like 2 days it's gone.
Disgusting.
This thing ends up looking like if you ever read the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark story about a girl that gets a spider bite on her face, but it turns out to be spider eggs, and they this is a gross ass bite.
Yeah,
this thing
it looks all necrotic and bubbly.
Yeah, it is not. It is how it would look if you actually got a bunch of radiation injected directly into your body. Yeah, it's not cute like it is in superhero movies.
So Peter, rightfully so, just realizing, I fucking ripped a man's flesh off his body, hurries home, still cold sweating, looking like death is knocking on his door.
Yep.
And
we get a couple comedic spots where his sticky hand is like he can't get his gloves off, he can't get his shirt off. He's having troubles.
He gets inside and he's trying to pull his fucking jacket off and it's fucking stuck. And he gets one sleeve out and then he goes to try and get the other out and it's stuck again. Yep. Finally, this is a recreation of what we saw in the Tobey Maguire one. He puts his hand on the wall and he realizes, oh shit. Puts both hands and now he's Spider-Man crawling on the fucking wall and onto the ceiling.
So we get some wall crawling. He crawls outside of his apartment.
Crawls up the wall, does the jump across the building.
Yeah.
He's like,
play for play. Everything's going great. But when he gets back home, he throws up and there's a tooth in it. One of his.
Yeah, he starts pulling his teeth out and then he passes out. And when he passes out, he wakes up in the classroom.
Oh, and his mouth is covered in God. It's spit, but it looks like there's a bit of web in the spit, and it's like all over the front of his shirt, and they immediately
all over his nose.
Run his ass to the ambulance, because that's what happens
when he's in the ambulance and they're trying to help him. They're like, "What is this shit?" Yeah. And all of a sudden he starts bubbling up. His insides start tearing open, and you see fucking pincer incisors coming out of his abdomen.
You got to get a couple more. If you're gonna be a real spider, you got to get a couple mandibles out there. So a couple of his little spider arms start popping out, but they got little blades on the end of them.
Yeah, they slash the throats and stab through the paramedics that are working on them, and then you just see blood splatter on the inside of the EMS. Next thing you know, we cut to
Jay Jonah on the TV.
Yeah, Jay Jonah talking
about an ambulance accident.
We got 2 dead paramedics here,
and Webb in the ambulance. It's strange shit.
Strange things are happening here, and I don't like it. And then immediately starts pandering, saying it's because of all these new laws that are being passed. Yeah, very Alex Jonesian.
Pretty sure it's the illegals doing it.
Yeah, pretty Alex Jonesian of him.
Yeah, Uncle Ben. Peter's back in his room. Uncle Ben starts knocking on the door, and he says that he gives the about responsibility lines. Like, what do we talk about responsibility, Peter? Knock, 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 knock. Peter's yelling to go away.
I'm gonna come in now.
There's a little blood on the handle, so Ben's not just refusing to respect privacy. He has a reason.
Are
to come
you okay? He opens the door, and we don't really see anything other than
we cut to Aunt May coming home. Right?
We get a shocked reaction on Uncle Ben's face, and then it cuts to Aunt May coming in the door, struggling with the groceries. Ben, Pete.
Yeah.
Where are you guys?
Hey, how about one of you lazy assholes help me with these groceries? She doesn't say that, but you can tell she was thinking it.
So she gets there and she hears some grunting and rustling around Pete's room. She goes up to Pete's door and she's like, Ben? Pete? And she notices the blood too. She's like, what? And it's all sticky. She opens the door, and she just sees web all over the room. She's like, what in the...
Yeah.
What is this? And she's tearing at it, and she looks down, and Pete says, don't look at me!
Yeah.
And she's like, what's going on? And you just see Uncle Ben being eaten alive.
Yeah, Peter's chowing down his uncle.
And Pete is now mutated into this fucking...
He's got like 8 eyes. He's got fangs. He
looks like something out of the Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, he's horrible.
His mutation is he's a spider with human skin.
Yeah, at this point, he does look more like a Hills Have Eye, like inbred redneck. Like,
sure, he's got extra legs poking out of his
he's got
back
a couple
and
extra
on his
legs.
side, but his mouth is all fucking pincers and incisors. He's got blood and Uncle Ben's guts hanging, and Aunt May sees him and she screams and he lunges towards her.
Yeah,
and that's our end credit right there. We get a dead Aunt May, dead Uncle Ben.
Credits roll.
And as the credits are rolling, we get all the production credits, and then as
you get a little scene of who I assume is Mary Jane walking through an alley.
I thought they were going to recreate in a horrifying way the
upside down kiss.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think they sort of were hinting at it.
You get this redheaded woman running down an alleyway like she's been chased by something and running. She's looking around, and she keeps looking up. And as she's taking a step forward, you hear something behind her, so she turns around and starts walking back away from the camera, back down the alley. And you're thinking at any moment, oh, he's going to descend like Spider-Man from the top. Instead, when she goes to turn around, you just see this giant fucking monster spider.
Yeah.
Humanoid monster spider that lunges after her and chomps on her. And then the end.
And then the actual credits. I'll be honest, the end scene, a little disappointing. No Samuel L. Jackson cameo. But other than that, it's A+ work. And it's nice. This is... Much like the movie we did this month, the short we did this month was different from anything we've done before. And I like that. I want our podcast to always keep evolving and changing, and I want us to... I don't want us to get pigeonholed into just the same old repeats. And I think, well, not to toot our horns, but I think me and Goreship nailed it this month in both levels with a brand new type of short and a brand new type of movie.
I thought this was a good, like I said, precursor to get us warmed up.
And like you say, it's going to lead us into Psycho Goreman.
Is a little bit more of the action hero, like fantasy-based style, like horror movie.
Yes.
It's not as slasher paranormal like we've been doing.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed we have done a lot of slasher.
Oh, just from your description, I know this will be a different animal.
You're gonna fucking love it.
I think I will, and I hope you all love it. And whether you do or not, and whether I love it or am gonna lambast it, you'll find out in exactly 1 month. This is coming out June 1st, so July 1st, be back here. Do all the shit, like, subscribe. Make sure make sure that these are auto coming to you every time they come out. Tell your friends who like horror podcast. In the show notes, you can follow us on all the social medias and such. And
maybe you'll find an episode that we've done in the past about a movie that you really enjoy, and you have some of the same hot takes we do.
Yeah,
or different varying takes.
Yeah, come at us, bro. It's good either way. We do not mind people not agreeing with us. But until then, we thank you so much just for lending us your ears. You've done us a great service, and we hope to come back next month and earn the right to borrow your ears again.
He's Reno, he's Dino, he is Valentino, and I am Goreship that sails over Styx.
The boat is now leaving the
Adios.
station.